When I set out on a journey to beat every Midnight Club game out there in the Wazoo, I put my mind to it. I beat Midnight Club 1, and today I can confidently say after 2 months, 2 months, I finally beat Midnight Club 2. And proof, here's the picture as proof. When you beat the game, it shows you and reveals you a cheat code that you can now adjust the difficulty and you can basically go back to replaying the entire career mode. But I now finally want to talk about this game because I have a lot to say about Midnight Club 2 and its full arsenal. And now I can say, after 2 months of playing this game front to back, because like I said, I wanted to beat this game first and foremost before I move on to Midnight Club 3. I think that this is the best Midnight Club game of all time. I would also argue that this might be one of the greatest racing games of all time. And I don't say that lightly. I think that this game is a true blue masterpiece when it comes to racing, its mechanics, the story, the world, the three different cities you get to race, which is LA, Paris, and Tokyo, respectively. I really think that this game still holds up even to this day, considering this is a game that came out back in 2003. And like I said, growing up playing this game as a kid, I was never able to beat this game 100%, truth be told. I was only able to get all the way up to Paris, and then I decided to call it quits. And I decided this time around, fuck it, we'll do it live. I want to really beat this game and be committed to finishing it because I know I loved this game back then. Why bother like half-assing it and just stop there? So yeah, with Midnight Club 2, this game is not only a vast improvement from Midnight Club 1 in every way, shape, and form, from the race mechanics to adding more little twinks here and there. But also, this was the first game to introduce motorcycles into the mix. There's also now new little mechanics, as I mentioned in previous videos covering this when I was going through my Midnight Club 2 journey, where now you have to time your boosting. You now have to time weight transfer. You now have to do burnouts. There's so many little details added to the game that even the map itself has been super updated to the point where if you're able to like do cruise control, which honestly after playing this game, that's 100% what you should do, is play cruise control, discover every shortcut in every map possible, because that is going to help you win these races. And believe me, towards the very end of the Tokyo map, it got progressively harder and harder with each new race. And we're going to get into that in a bit. First, I want to at least break down every city in their own respectful rights. Starting off with LA. LA is the city that you start off with. You're introduced to a new character named Moses. And Moses, in my view, is one of, if not two, of my favorite characters in Midnight Club 2's LA map. And Moses, again, this is also an attitude that you kind of come across in every racer from this point forward, where some of them may have an attitude towards you, some of them are overconfident that they can still beat you, and it gives the game so much life and flesh to it. And Moses sticks with you all the way to the very end of LA to give you tips, pointers, and at times cheer you up and make sure that you win and beat the champion himself in LA. And in this game, I want to also shout out Gina, because Gina's character is not only one of my favorite like female racers in this game, but Gina does stick with you all the way till the very end of their final race against the world champion. And Gina's character is incredible. Now, what's going to be a pattern in Midnight Club 2 and with each city is that there's going to be one like potentially dangerous person or a criminal, what have you, that's in these cities. And case in point, we have Hector, who has arguably one of my favorite cars in the LA map. That he's someone that like you just don't want to mess with, given like his attitude and that he's in a bit of a gang per se, and he's like bad news nonetheless. And once you beat Hector, he's really sore, but at least you know you're never gonna have to see him again until you face off against the first champion, which is Dice. And I can now confidently say that between Dice, Parfait, and Makoto, respectively, who are their own champions in their own match, respectively, Dice's race is probably the hardest champion you got race out of the other two champions out there. Yes, Parfait's race in Paris is also really hard, and Makoto's race is really hard in Tokyo. But I still think that Dice's race to this day is much, much harder because of the numerous amounts of checkpoints and skill you have to pull off to being Dice. And again, Dice is no easy feat either at the end of the day. Yes, you can maybe cheat it out by using cheat codes or something of that wazoo, but Dice's race is not one to fuck around with. Meanwhile, Parfait's race is easily the easiest champion to beat in all the Midnight Club 2 races thus far. And Makoto's race, his is probably the most interesting one out of the bunch, where he first gives you a time trial in his first race. After you beat his time trial, then you race him for real. And his second race is probably, if not closer to being as hard as Dice's races combined. Like, that's how really close it was when I had to narrow down what was the easiest and the hardest champion in each respective city. Now, with that being said, again, I have a lot of highlights to say about the characters in each respective city, which ties into some of my favorite cars driven in Midnight Club 2. So again, from LA, my favorite characters, if I had to narrow to just two highlighted racers, would be between Gina and Dice, respectfully, and Hector as a bit of a shout out in LA. For Paris, my favorite cars to drive in Paris has to do with characters like Blog, who was a really great introduction and a tone setter of what it's like to drive in Paris, and Farid, who is a wanted international criminal where he is someone that like you can beat pretty easily, but then when it comes to his final race against an international police officer named Owen, that's where shit gets turned the fuck up to 11. And I can never forget how amazing Farid's race was before you eventually come across the champion herself, Parfait, in Paris. And then finally in Tokyo, like my favorite characters in Tokyo, there's like numerous characters there that I would like to shout out. Some I like, some maybe I dislike for other personal reasons because of how hard it was towards the very end. But narrowing down to my favorites, Nico. Bro, Nico's character design, if you look at his design right now, is one of the most iconic, just holy shit. I actually wouldn't mind wearing my hat upside fucking down just to showcase like I'm a fucking Nico fan. And his car, the Knight, is easily one of the best cars in the game in general when it comes to how balanced it is. It basically takes Farid's car and just elevates it to like the next level. Zen, who is the only solo motorcyclist racer you come across, he is so fucking cool. He has amazing one-liners. His voice acting, I don't know who voice acted Zen, but my god, it is so damn incredible. His character design may look simplistic as fuck, but it's so badass when you race against him. And then in terms of like who is the dangerous character in Tokyo, it's Kenichi, who is part of the Yakuza. And Kenichi and the Yakuza story does play a role in Gina and why Gina's been following you up until this very end of the game. And again, going back to Makoto, shouting him out once again, his car is like easily the best champion car to win out of the three champions. And it does say a lot when you go into the final race against the main man himself, Salvo. Salvo is the world champion, and this guy is not fucking around. He will do anything he can to trick you in any way, shape, or form. He has easily the fastest car in the game, if you exclude the circuit race car that you win when you beat all the circuit races, of course. But Savo is a guy that is just fucking insane. I can honestly say after being all six, yes, six races from the world champion, he is undoubtedly one of the hardest racers I've ever had to beat. And it took me so long as to why I couldn't finish this game within a week, right? Because he is ruthless. He will hit you, he will insult you all the way to the end, and the only person that's cheering you during that time as the music is flaring in the fucking background is Gina, just telling you like, come on, you got it. This is the world champ. You got this. You're so close, baby. Do it for me. And it's like that is the only thing keeping you motivated to being the game, being Salvo, and getting the last card, the last reward that you need. And I think I can say in the case of Salvo's races, the hardest races with Salvo would have to be the Paris ones. Those were excruciatingly hard because of the first, just the all the races with Salvo in general is hard. But between the three cities you go in with Salvo, I think Paris was the hardest one. Tokyo, one because you mastered Tokyo up to that point, that one would be like the somewhat easiest one out of the six. But then after that, Paris is like the hardest, and then LA is like the second hardest because of the numerous checkpoints you have to hit, and the fact that this takes Dice's race and Makoto's race and just does a fusion dance, and it makes it to the hardest race imaginable. And what's really amazing about this game, and another reason I want to shout like two more characters to somewhat wrap this up, there are some characters in this game when you come across this races. You know how there's like your typical 3, 2, 1 go countdown, and then you start your race. Well, in the case of Midnight Club 2, just like Savo, who is a savage when it comes to fucking up your timing when you start the race, there are characters in this game where they would deliberately cheat or gain some kind of advantage point to just try to outbeat you. And again, it really does like encapsulate a lot of the racing, street racing themes in general, where these are not racers that are not going to take you seriously. They're not going to give you a fair chance of beating you. They will do anything they can or play dirty to win a race. And no other example can be exemplified with a racer like Angel that you come across in the LA map. His race, especially towards the final end, he is someone that just straight up hates you. He says it point blank to your fucking face with no like apologies whatsoever. And he will do anything he can to cheat. And in that third race when you race against Angel, he does get like just gives like a really shitty countdown, and it actually just smooths off right before the game allows you to race against him. And that's like the dirtiest move you're going to come across. And it actually gets crazier from there because another racer that you come across in Tokyo towards the end with Ricky, who was part of the Yakuza clan, also plays dirty. And during his second race against him, Ricky decides to also fuck up the countdown and actually just gets a head start for like a good 5 seconds until you're able to go with the other racers. It's ruthless, and it really showcases that again, street racing is not there to just give you a fair fight. It really amplifies and gives the game itself more life and flesh to like being lost in the world in the club too. And like I said, when also covering down like the soundtrack of this game, the music in Midnight Club 2 is 100% amazing. I think that if we're talking about like what are the key essential songs to race in when it comes to going to LA or Paris or Tokyo, Midnight Club 2 has you covered with every song imaginable. So I'm not going to regurgitate it here. I'll leave a link down below with the Midnight Club 2 soundtrack, explain why it's amazing. But to really sum it up, every character you come across in this game has its own little like theme song playing in the background to exemplify what their personality is like, how they react, and I gotta say, every song that fits with each character fits with them super, super well, and you can tell like when there are moments when there are racers that are like really good guys and they're really cool towards you, and then once they're just straight up dangerous and ruthless, and you have to like stay the fuck away from them. It's so nice and attention to detail. And speaking of attention to detail, the maps in this game are so attention to detail for a game that came out back in 2003. It's crazy that again it has held up really well to this day and can rival other racing games in the modern day and age right now. So, with that being said, Midnight Club 2, to wrap this up, I feel it's just a one of a kind, a must play masterpiece of a racing game. Between, Midnight Club 2 and, of course, Midnight Club 1 right here, both of these games, respectfully, are good and are really strong in their own right. But I feel like Midnight Club 2 is the one that I can always see myself going back to because there's just so many iconic one liners from the characters you come across. So many amazing cars that really do well to this day, and surprisingly, a really nice story towards the very end that you get super invested in just for the sake of being the game and saving Gina from her death against the Yakuza and what have you. And I think that this is just incredible. This is not a game for the weak. I feel like from here on out, it's going to be interesting to see what happens when I get to Midnight Club 3, which is the next racing game I'm planning to play. But as of right now, man, I think Midnight Club 2 is 100% must play. It's hard as hell, but the reward for being every single racer is 100% worth it, and it will make you motivated up until the very end. So yeah, just wanted to simply rant and talk about it finally putting in to Midnight Club 2. This was incredible. This was an amazing game. I'm really happy I really came back around to play and finish this game. And yeah, I guess I'll see y'all in the next one when I talk about Midnight Club 3, I suppose. But yeah, that's it. See you on the next one. Later.